My name is Gasia Mikaelian, and I'm coming to you through KTVU Fox 2 News in the San Francisco Bay Area. We are talking about Valentine's Day, which is still happening even during the pandemic. Let's talk about making it special by welcoming Dr. Margaret Cochran to the conversation. You're a mental health expert, and you're here to help us find out how there is still some romance in the air, even though we've been, this close to our significant others for way too long.
Yeah. Yes, we've all been wrapped up in stress palooza, haven't we?
Right.
I mean, there's just been so much going on. And that's why Valentine's Day is so especially wonderful this year.
And
It's a
so,
great time to just step back a second.
right. And to do things differently, because if there is anything that will kill romance and intimacy, it is monotony, right? It is having to do the same thing, wearing the same sweatpants every morning. So go ahead and tell me about keeping the spark. And this can be tough even for people who haven't been married 100 years. Like I joke that I have been. But a lot of us are losing our spark these days.
Yeah, that's really true. And the most powerful aphrodisiac of all is talking. You may remember during your dating time, you'd spend probably hours looking into each other's eyes and talking about your secrets and your plans and your thoughts. And from that place, you began to shape a life together. Well, going back to that is very, very connecting and sexy.
But I think the reason it was so fun is because I didn't know that he grew up on a farm, or he didn't know that I wanted 6 children. Like, we kind of know all that stuff now. How do you take two people who've been together for a very long time and feel like we've talked about everything?
I love that you said that because you can take the information you already have and do a deeper dive. So, what was your favorite thing about the farm? Would you ever think about living on one? Have our kids really been exposed to the kinds of things on the farm that you really value? I mean, just things like that, where you begin to find there's always more to find out about a person. And one of the things that often shuts down romance is begin to make assumptions. Yeah, I know it all. There's nothing new to learn.
And so we have to remain interested in our partner for them to be interesting to us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, it's all about questions, 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 and listen, listen, listen. Because you know what? We don't spend a lot of time doing that. We spend a lot of time being busy and getting things done. And we don't spend much time listening to our children, ourselves, even about what we want and what matters to us.
I think about all the long hours. I mean, look, I'm still working from home. It's been almost a year now. And I think of all the hours that we spend together, my husband and I and our 2 children. But it is when we tell the boys, mommy and daddy are going to lock themselves in their bedroom to talk, right? And even if it's just 20 minutes or half an hour, things like, what did your mom tell you? I know you had a long conversation today. Or, coming up this week, and I don't know if I feel right going to that other kid's outside birthday party. It's a different thing when it's just the two of us.
Yes. And here's the secret. The first few minutes of any couple's conversation is going to be about, okay, did you take out the garbage? Did you pay the bills? Are we going to get kids to whatever? But then there'll be a period of silence, like, oh, well, we've done the business part. Now what? And that's where the intimacy begins to happen.
Now, you say that there are 3 pillars for romance, keeping it interesting, fresh, and relevant. Once again, because we've
Mhm.
spent all this time together, it is hard to think of anything that we could have to say as fresh.
Well, actually, the 3 pillars of romantic love are passion, play, and productivity. And your relationship sits like a table on top of those 3 legs. And then life, of course, impinges on the table. But if you've got 3 strong legs, you can get through anything. And the nice thing about passion, play, and productivity is it gives you a way to talk about how things are in the marriage, little check-in points. Like, so how's our productivity? We're getting things done? Or are our financial plans on track? Are we doing what we need to do? Are we having fun together? Are we taking time just to enjoy each other's company? And finally, passion, which is not only about our intimate physical relationship, but also just about cuddling and touching and feeling close.
So it sounds like even though we're spending so much time together, we still really need to take a minute to say, how are we doing? Like, outside of the fact that the children are fine and the bills are just barely getting paid and there's some food in the fridge, how are we doing?
Yes, that is very, very important. I often talk about people's love, their commitment to one another as their first child. It's their first baby. And all through the marriage, however long that is, you need to take care of that baby because you know what happens to things when you don't take care of them? It's not good, not pretty.
Well, let me share a story that, like, I'm horrified to tell now, but because it's been several years, I feel a little less pained. Our boys are very close in age. They're a year and a half apart. And so, we had two under the age of 2, and it was just, diapers and breastfeeding and everything. It just seemed like eternity. And so at some point
Sure.
when they were sort of in the toddler stage, maybe toddler, early grade school, my husband said, hey, like, how about you and I spend the day together? And I said, well, we're busy. I'm busy. I have to, laundry and whatever. Right. And he actually said to me, he said, honey, he goes, I need you. And I said, you're fine.
Yeah.
They need me. Right. Because
Yeah.
I looked at need as clean clothes, food on the table, someone to do the laundry, someone to drive them to preschool and pick them up. And so to hear my husband say, I need you was a huge shock to me. And I'll be honest, I felt bad because I thought, I'm working, I'm bringing home the bacon, I'm sweeping the floor, I gave you 2 healthy kids. What more, but it was a
Mhm.
good, once I got over that initial sting,
Mhm.
I was actually very grateful that he was able to be so honest.
Well, I chuckled when you said that because I hear that all the time. Oh, I have this story and it's really awful. But it isn't really awful. That story happens in households across the country where we get so wrapped up in this and that, and physical care often becomes an obsession, especially for women. We get really into that. Does everyone have a sandwich, dry socks, and this and that? And we forget about what really matters, which is who we are. No one can replace who we are or how we love.
So why do you think women get so wrapped up in providing that physical care to their partners and their children without really giving enough thought to the emotional fulfillment?
Because we're schooled to do it almost from the time we exit the womb. We see our mothers doing it. We see our grandmothers doing it. We are socialized to think in those kinds of ways. And and men get socialized to do certain things too. So it's about stepping back a little bit and looking at what really is valuable here. I mean, if something doesn't get cooked or dusted or whatever, yeah, life isn't going to come to an end. But those moments when we're with the people we love and we let them know how much we value them and how much they mean to us, those are priceless, and they will stay with that person all their life.
So if women have been conditioned to think that if I am feeding you, doing your laundry, keeping your house clean, I'm doing a good job of being a spouse. What do men sort of fall into that makes them think, oh, I'm doing all the right things, but perhaps might leave their partner wanting?
Well, men are generally socialized to be breadwinners, go out into the world and bring in money. And they'll spend hours and hours and hours and hours doing that away from the family, away from their wife, away from activities that bring people closer together, even larger family activities, because I have to work. And as a result, they get emotionally cut off and they don't have the depth of emotionality and connection that we need from them, they need from us.
Right. But maybe they're thinking, hey, look, I'm bringing home the bacon. We're paying the mortgage. Kids are in private school. What do we have to worry about?
I'm providing for my family. That's the way I show my love.
Yeah. Oh God, what gender stereotypes this falls into? I mean, I shudder. I shudder to think what people, in the women's lib movement of all those decades ago would think of it now. But it just seems you're right. It does seem that we learn so much from our parents, whether or not we try to emulate them.
Yes, yes. And old habits die hard. And one of the things that we know in psychology, if we're going to change something or take something away, if we don't have something to put in its place, we'll go back to the old behavior.
You say you have 5 tips to enhance intimacy. Let's hear it.
All right. Well, keep dating, just what I talked about earlier. Spend some time, look into each other's eyes, go in the bedroom and close the door, whatever you need to do, but keep dating. Spend time apart. Not long periods of time, but some time. Express gratitude and appreciation. We often forget to do that. Accept responsibility when you screw up and make amends. Forgive, accept, and talk about your lovemaking outside of the bedroom. Don't wait until you're in the middle of loving one another to say, oh, what about this or what about that? Yeah, talk about it beforehand so you have some idea of what you need, what you want, and what you'd like to have happen.
Got it. It's interesting. You say, apologize when you make a misstep. I used to feel really, my word, lame saying, I am sorry that I burnt the pancakes that you were looking forward to. Well, usually talking to my sons, but I realized that saying sorry doesn't cost me anything. And it
you know,
actually helped them feel better. And so I thought, fine, I am sorry for burning the pancakes. My poor son, when he turned 10, I baked, I think, the worst pizza I've ever made. And we talk about it still to
oh,
this day, right? And I realized that if it hadn't been such a disaster, it probably would have been totally forgettable. But in that moment, on that night, I remember I apologized. I even promised him a makeup pizza, which I made the next night. So just the fact that I wasn't, resentful or defensive, or you're lucky you're getting pizza, rah, rah, rah,
yeah,
you know? So it actually went a long way.
yes. And that's a family story now. It's a family memory.
Yes, yes. All right, and we're also talking about the little ones, because I know my boys are relieved not to have to do the making of Valentines. They're not into that. But how can we spread Valentine's Day love even to the children in our family?
Well, it's really important to just a moment and look in their eyes and say, I'm so glad you're my child and I love you dearly. And they'll squirm and they'll wiggle and they tell you they don't need to hear it and all that kind of stuff. But later, when they're older and they come to therapy, I will hear in my office, I remember that day, that Valentine's Day, when mom and dad looked at me and said they loved me and they're so glad that I was their child. I actually do hear about things parents do right, just FYI.
Oh, good. Good. Every day, it's like a 1 to 10 ratio. The one phrase I've started saying to my younger son, who's sort of my challenging child, is I say, I love you no matter what and all the time. Because he has
Mhm.
tested my patience and he will test society's patience. But I want him to know that no matter what, mommy and daddy have your back and we will get through any problem together. And so just that phrase, I love you no matter what and all the time, it's kind of a
Mhm.
nice little bedtime thing we have going.
Absolutely. And those kinds of intimate rituals are extremely powerful. Now, there's one more thing I would recommend for Valentine's Day, and that is the hard stuff, as I like to call it. It's really good to have a little dark chocolate on hand. Dark chocolate has antioxidants. It's good for your blood pressure. It's good for your cholesterol. It's an anti-inflammatory. It raises your mood. Yay, A plus for chocolate. Now, a lot of people have tried chocolate and it wasn't very good, but there's so many new wonderful dark chocolates out there. About an ounce, ounce and a half a day will do the trick. You're good to go.
Okay. So I guess we don't have to throw in the towel on Valentine's Day this year.
No, absolutely. This could be an extra special super duper Valentine's Day. One of those family stories that you'll remember forever.
Hopefully, no burned pizza. All right. All right. Very good. Is there anything else you'd like to add or perhaps point our viewers to online when it comes to learning more about you, Dr. Cochran?
Yeah, drcochran.com.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.